Hi everyone, I am so excited to talk to you about a new palette today. Now you know I love this palette from Pottery by Eleni. I use it in all my YouTube tutorials. I love using a limited palette of colors and this has been perfect for me. But if you're following my tiny painting series, you'll know that I love my paints from Letter Sparrow that has split primaries. Warm primaries and cool primaries. And I was thinking, I wish I could combine the colors from my Letter Sparrow palette with my love for my ceramic palette from Pottery by Eleni. So I sketched out a split primary palette design, reached out to Eleni, and together we created this collaboration palette called the Kristin palette after me. I'm just like geeking out about that. But the best part about it is split primary on either side. Cool primaries, warm primaries with a slight hump in the middle. So you have plenty of room to mix and mix and mix, which I will be showing you today. It's beautiful. It has gold edges. And I am just so excited to get into this. Kelly from Letter Sparrow makes the best watercolor paint, and she helped me come up with the best paints for a split primary palette. And I asked her, can we take those same paints in the tiny palette and put them into tubes because they'll be perfect for my split primary palette with Eleni? And of course she said yes. So I'm so excited to have cool primaries, warm primaries, an indigo, and a deeper warm green, all perfect for mixing any color you can think of. So both of these are actually on their websites now. I will link their sites in the description below, and it's just my absolute dream perfect palette. So I'm going to show you how I fill these Letter Sparrow paints, pushing the paints from the tube into each well. I'm keeping the cool primaries on one side, the warm primaries on the other. I will have all of these colors listed in the description below and talk about why I think each are cool and warm. And then I'm going to let these paints dry completely overnight. Now this palette is specifically made to stay on your desk. This is not a travel palette. This is not a take wherever you go palette. You can use the leftover paint you have from Letter Sparrow from this set to fill into a travel palette, but this ceramic palette is meant to just stay as like a permanent, beautiful fixture on your desk with the best paints. So I'm going to let these dry completely overnight, at least 24 hours, and I'm going to show you how I use them. We're going to do a little test once they are dry, and we're going to paint some flowers together. Now enjoy how beautiful and clean this palette is, because in a minute we are going to mix our little hearts out, but that is the point of this palette, to get messy, mix these colors together. These are primary colors, they're meant to be mixed. You can keep cool on one side, warm on the other, or you can mix, cross mix, and do whatever you want, because you know that's what I'm going to do. All of these colors are going to touch each other, they're going to mix together, and we're going to create some beautiful flowers together. I'm using Arches 140 pound cold press watercolor paper, and I will be using a size 10 and a size 4 round brush. So here I've got my beautiful split primary palette. It has dried for at least 2 days, and I wanted to paint some flowers today because you know I've already used these colors for the barn test. A barn is such a great way to test if your split primary colors work together. But I wanted to show you how well these colors paint and work together to paint some flowers. So I am using my flower color guide, which I will also have linked below. It is one of my favorite resources for painting flowers and having reference photos. Now, we're getting into our first bit of paint. Anytime we start with a painting, we start with our lightest washes of color. So I'm mixing up color, but then I'm adding water to make sure we're starting very light. Now, throughout this whole painting, I will be cross-mixing cool and warm because I like the depth that it brings when I mix different cool and warm colors together, as well as just the cool colors and the warm colors. But something that I've noticed is when I stick with only cool colors, sometimes they are too vibrant. They are too bright, especially for nature. Sometimes nature's a little bit more muted, so I will bring in the warm colors to bring that depth and a little bit of that muted feel. Now, if I only use warm colors, it's too muted. So I like using both cool and warm together to get a really good balance between that brightness and that muted dark feeling. For the rest of the video, it's about 30 minutes of me painting these flowers, and I know a lot of you like the observation process without me necessarily talking about it. Please let me know in the comments below if you want more detailed tutorials about loose flowers. Sometimes it's hard to give a full tutorial because I am really in the moment and I jump around a lot, and you'll see that throughout this process. And so at this point, I'm really just exploring the colors and what they can do, bouncing between different types of flowers and seeing how the colors respond to each other and in what ways. So there are a few things I want you to keep in mind while you're watching this process. The first thing I want you to remember is something we already kind of talked about, and that's values. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So we need to start with our lightest values because with watercolor, we cannot layer the lightness over the darkness. Start light, build up your darker values until you get to the darkest color at the very end. Second is to remember your color wheel. Whether you're using the cool primaries or the warm primaries, remember that colors next to each other on the color wheel are going to mix really well. So for this pinky, yellow, orange, red flower, I was able to combine yellow and magenta and get all the different colors in between to get this beautiful, nice, very cohesive looking flower. But when I go to add darker, deeper values of color, that's when we start mixing complementary colors. Complementary colors are across from each other on the color wheel, and I can add deeper blues to my oranges or greens to my pinks, and I will get shadowier, deeper colors for our darkest values. If I stay within that yellow and magenta and I try to build up the color, it will only build up so far and will never get to that deep, moody, dark value that we need. So we have to mix colors that are complementary to get that darkest value that we want at the end. And you'll see that throughout this process when I start adding those deeper, darker colors. That's when everything really comes together and it looks finished. That being said, the third thing I want you to remember is when you're painting flowers, there's always this really weird stage where nothing looks complete and you wonder if anything looks good at all. Some people call it the ugly stage, but I've had people say, no stage is ugly. Okay, it's not ugly, but it's that stage that makes you want to give up because you feel like it's not working or you've done something wrong. Don't let it dissuade you. Keep going. Remember to build up your layers, and then by the end, I bet you will like it more than you think that you would. Number 4, when you're painting loose florals, utilize both water and pigment. So we're obviously starting with our lightest color, our lightest washes, but you can see here when I'm painting the goldenrod, I can paint some really bright yellow areas, leave those, and then dip into water and have some really light watery areas that are also connected. That's one way. Or if I started with a light, very watery yellow, then I could pick up a really high concentration of the paint, really thick pigment, and drop that color into the more watery washes. Doing this creates so much interest in our first basic initial wash. We need that light area and that darker area and that area in the middle where it's blending, and that's the beautiful part about watercolor. We need to utilize it as much as we can. And my last tip, which is always my most important tip, is to remember to have fun. You cannot learn how these colors work together or how florals blend together with all the tips I've given you with water and pigment and values unless you do it and unless you try and experiment. And I've said my mantra before, but I'll say it again. Put your hand on your chest. Take a deep breath with me. We are going to have so much fun. You can repeat after me if you want. My art is not perfect. I am not perfect. But every time I put my brush to the paper, I am making progress. Also, this is for fun. You can shout that last part too, just to help you remember this is for fun. Painting flowers, getting nice, beautiful palettes, putting in these beautiful paints, using the good paper because you are worth using the good paper. All of this is for fun and enjoying your life and doing something for you. So I hope you remember that. I hope you find some inspiration from this video. I'm going to put some music on now. You can enjoy the rest of the process, and I will see you at the end of the video. Thank you for being here with me while we painted these beautiful flowers. I hope you enjoyed that process of building the layers, adding the values, and seeing the painting come to life. We definitely messed up this palette in the best way. It is so mixed up, it is so colorful and chaotic, which is exactly what I wanted. If you are interested in the Kristin palette from Pottery by Eleni or the split primary watercolors from Letter Sparrow, I will have the links to their websites in the description below. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.